of the B-flat blues that I described earlier. So Richard will play a straight blues in the way that we were doing it, and I'll only play the 9, 11, and 13 of each chord. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and... like so. And it's a powerful sound. And the neat thing about it for a bass player is sometimes I will add other notes that are not part of that. I'm trying my best not to, but the reason why I might sometimes do it is because it's an exercise requiring a specific interpretation. That's the hard part about academic music, is that you have to take the time to specifically learn a specific lesson. Specifically, you have to interpret the exact elements of these notes that you're playing and learn them for the meaning that they have. And as an academic element, this is hard to do. That's why I believe that the academically trained musician knows a lot more and can play a lot more than many, many non-trained musicians, because of the fact that they're dealing in non-familiar and unusual elements of music on a regular basis. Before I continue, I want to add one little thought, and the thought that I want to add is there is a difference between academia and art, which I'll explain later in this video. Right now I want to do another exercise based on the blues, where I'm going to combine the 4 chord tones and the 9, sharp 11, and 13, or 9, 11, 13, in a series as an exercise to show you how amazing this sound is. It will be an exercise, so I can't artistically perform this because it is so specific, but it is interesting to the ear that a bass player will play this and represent this tonality. So here we are with 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice sound, and it's hard to do because of the fact that I have to deal with every note, which musically speaking is not probably a pleasant thing to do. Again, I emphasize the difference between art, which means that everything is permitted, and academia, which means that little is permitted outside of the lesson you do. There is a neat thing that I'll do now without Richard, and what it is I'll take this exercise and show you a way to make that even further more involved as a bassist. A lot of this stuff might be hard for some of you guys. If it is, the steps of music that you would take before this are important. You want to deal in music lessons, music teachers, music schools, music events, whereby music and notes and elements of that are going to keep you to getting better and rising as a bassist on pretty much a weekly, bi-monthly, monthly level. You get better in little tiny pieces. Musicians do not get better in huge chunks. That's a bit of a myth. You get better in the smallest increments of improvement. That's the steady step of improvement of a musician. So one of the things I want to offer you is when you are playing 1, 3, 5, 7 in this exercise, 9 sharp, 11, and 13, do them in inversions, where now you begin on a third and end up on the root. Starting on the fifth and ending up on the third. Starting on the flat 7, starting on the 9, starting on the sharp 11, and finally starting on the 13. And these exercises are challenging and absolutely needing of you to practice them without a metronome. You must not use a metronome when you're practicing any of these elements, because time is not the issue. It's the pitch and the subdivided time interpretation that you make. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now I can be very pulling on that time, but I need that time to think of these notes. This is not something that lays under the hand of a bass player. In fact, most good music, and I always use the word good to emphasize unique and meaningfully organized music studies. You get these music studies that are organized for us in order to enlighten us and to help us rise as musicians, to become better as musicians. And I don't know of a musician in the world whereby a musician who has a new exercise has to play that exercise quickly, rapidly at the beginning whatsoever. It's a complete myth. Time is not necessary when dissecting new music. Time is used when you subdivide in a way where you'll play a bass line or something that you don't know very well, and you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, because you don't have to play this until you learn it. That's the idea about learning. You must have the time to dissect the information and make it a part of you. That's what all musicians and students do. So try this full neck and try them in the inversions. And these things are going to be very enlightening, a bit challenging to some. It's challenging to me because it's not usual bass type playing, and I look for music that is going to give me some new perspective so that maybe I can play in ways that are kind of enlightening for me. Now I'll play a blues with Richard, and I'll try to be in a more relaxed sort of improvising manner in order to give you my interpretation of a blues using some of these elements, I would say, in a more musical manner. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and...